Welcome back to the video lecture series on Python programming. So we have mostly covered the different aspects of Python programming till now. And at least to build a general program to do some kind of say for example, a machine learning programming, I think we are well equipped by this time. Uh, but one part that I'm going to cover in this lecture is a very interesting part. Say you want to build basic desktop applications, right, where you need to have certain UI or user interface where you can probably input some of the information, or whatever information is being given by the program, churned out by the program, it can be displayed. So those things, if you want to build that kind of an interactive desktop application, how you can do that using Python programming. So that is what we are going to cover in today's video, right? So for that, the most commonly used option, and which is very easy to write program, is by using the tkinter library, right? Or we also sometimes call it Tinker library, right? So this tkinter library, I mean, it originated from very popular platform of front end or UI design. It's called the TCL/TK platform. I mean, even when we started our programming in our early days of programming, we used to extensively use this TCL/TK. Uh, I mean, this platform, right? So underlying for this tkinter library, the underlying platform is this TCL/TK platform, right? Now, mm, what does it take to kind of create a user interface using the tkinter library? So the first thing that we have to do, I mean, that's very obvious, is we have to import the library, right? And how we can do that? We can simply use the same mechanism as we do for the other libraries, like the NumPy or the Pandas library. We have seen that, right? The next thing we have to do is we have to build a container. That's a main window, right? On top of which the controls are going to be placed. So the container or the main window. Third is what we have to position the different controls or the widgets that we call here, right? So placing the widgets. And fourth, in case you want to, for the different widgets, if you want to design certain triggers so that certain actions can be taken based on those triggers, right? So kind of designing those triggers is the fourth aspect that we have to cover, right? We are going to cover in this lecture today. Okay, all these four aspects. Now, what are the different widgets which are being supported by Tinker library? More or less all the different widgets, or all the different controls which are needed, like button, like checkbox, like the labels. I mean, so many different things are being there. We are not going to cover the whole bunch today. It's not possible. If we do that, it's going to take at least a 3-4 hours long video, and it's going to be kind of boring. We don't need to do that. So what I'm going to touch upon is designing. I mean, first of all, how to go through these 4 steps. That's the first thing I'm going to cover. And then designing a very small and simple window having a few controls, and kind of make it work in a very simple way. You can always go through a little more detailed, what should I say, reading material, like the one I have given here, Geeks for Geeks. There is a wonderful coverage on how to build simple UIs using the Tinker library, right, or the tkinter library. So you can go through that once you go through this lecture. If you want to have more details, you can go through this link. Okay. Even some of the contents that I'm using in today's lecture are being taken from this particular link only, right? So you can always go and navigate more on that perspective. So without a more ado, let's start off. First thing, importing the library. We all know it's a very simple thing. Import tkinter as tk. Tk is basically used as an alias or a short name, and we are importing the tkinter library. What we can also use, as we all know, from tkinter import star. If we do that, we get all the things from the library in one shot, and also we don't have to use any alias. But in the program that we are going to write today, we are going to use this particular line of code, import tkinter as tk, and we're going to use the alias, right? Now, once that is being done, the second part, as we have talked about, is to create the main window. How it can be done? Very, very simple. The first thing is we can use the method tk. This tk method can be used to create the main window and then to sustain the main window. I mean, so that it doesn't get destroyed before we want to do it. For that, it has to be run in an infinite loop. There's a function called main loop. So once we create the window using this tk function and we save that in the object, we call it by some name, say window or main window, whatever is the name we give, and then using that object we run this function main loop, and till the point it is specifically being destroyed, the main window, this window is going to be up and running, right? So this is what we can figure out even when we work out the programs. Now this is the second step being done, the creation of the window, which is basically going to be the control container for the different widgets or controls is created. Now we have to run the program. I mean, just a small compacting. If you just do this, your window is up and running, right? Now we have to start placing the widgets. But before that, let me just quickly go to the Python IDE. So this is a desktop application we are building, mind it. So we are not going to use Google Colab today. We are going to use the Anaconda IDE, which is called Spider, and we are going to use that. Okay. So we do that, and we start off creating the window. So first import tkinter as tk. That's the first thing that we do. Then we simply create the window. So basically window is equal to tk dot tk. This is a method that we call to create the main window. Now after that we have to sustain the window, right? So for that we just write window dot main loop. What you can also see is not giving the code what is the impact. You can also check on your own. So if I just run it, you'll see a random window is being created. Now if I want to set things, like if I want to give a title to this window, or if I want to set the dimensions of this window, how can I do that? So very simple. For setting the dimensions, what we can do is window dot there is a function or method called geometry, and in the geometry we can give the dimensions. Say for example I want to create the window as 250 by 150. Okay, 150, and then we also want to give the title. So window dot title, if we want to give some title, say my first tk or tkinter window. Okay, this is the name I am going to set. So once I do that, and if I run it again, I'm going to see this window being created. Due to some reason, this is not showing up. I don't know why. But if I just, let me just make it a little larger, because this one seems to be a bit smaller. So let me make it a bit larger, double the dimension, and let's see what is coming out. Okay, so this is how it is coming out, right? Now we have to position the controls one by one. So for positioning the controls, the code is very simple. Okay, there are only very few methods, or rather very few things which we have to do. But before that, before adding the widgets, one thing that we have to keep in mind is when we when we create the widgets or when we place the widgets on the main window, how do we place it? So it's like a proper window that we have where we have to position the controls. How can we position the controls? There are three techniques, out of which the first two techniques are more popular. The first one uses the pack method. What does it do? It simply positions the widget on top of the main window. And there are certain parameters in pack which can be used to position the control in different locations in the main window, right? So that is the pack function. The second one is called the grid function or the grid method, where you can actually divide the whole window. So if this is like the whole window, you can divide it into grids. What do you mean by grids? So some rows and some columns, like a very much like a table. And what you can do is you can position each of the widgets in one of the different uh, what should I say, cell of the table, right? How can you do that? By mentioning the row number and the column number, right? So this is the second option, grid, where the parameters are row and column. And the third one, which is not very much practiced in writing simple programs, where you can position the widget exactly on the particular place where you want it to be, right? So that way you have to understand the geometrical dimensions of the window and which particular dimension to be used to position that control. So that's why we generally use grid if you want to make a more structured window in a very simple way, or if it's a very simple window with very less number of controls, we can also use the pack function, right? Now let's go with a very small example of a widget. So text box, a very simple one, which is a text box. How do we write the code? So first thing is we just create an object for that particular text box, and then tk dot, whenever you give dot, you will see the different methods for different widgets are coming up. Like for text box, you have the text method, and here you can, well, you have to mention the basically the container, the object which represents the container. So we have to mention the window here, right? So this mentions the window. We can basically give the uh, height and the width of that particular container. So how can I give that? Height equals, say for example, 1, and width uh, equals, say for example, 20. I'm just taking a random number, right? And then if you want to put some kind of a text in the text box, how can you do that? This is a text box, mind it, this is not a label. So label we are going to come later on. So how do you do that? Text dot, and then there is a function insert, right? So I have to give it as caps. No, insert. Where is that coming? Insert. No, this is not the right spelling. So yeah, insert. And here you have to mention the index. So I am just using the tk.end. Okay, so just one index I'm giving here, and then comma what text I want to insert here, right? I will mention that particular text here. So let me insert the text, say, hey you, comma, welcome. Okay, just a simple text. Okay, and then I just use the very simple pack function. So pack. So this sets the thing for me. Okay, now if I run it, I will simply get this one. Okay, so my first Tinker window, Tkinter window, and here I have this text coming in. Okay, so and the dimensions are being set. I gave a dimension, height is equal to 1, so basically 1 character, and the width is equal to 20. So I think it's more than sufficient. In case the width is not sufficient, it will simply wrap around. Okay, so once I do that, next I will go for the next one. So I will go for the next one, which is a button. Let me put a button function. Okay, so again, how do you do that? So button, and let's put it as button 1 is equal to, again, the same way, tk dot button. Okay, and here again I have to give the first parameter as a window, the container, the object representing the container. And then again, I have to give the dimensions and the text that I want to position. So let me name the button as, say, OK, OK button. Okay. Or let me name it as exit. That is even better if I want to give it. Now, again, I have to give like button dot pack. So I want to position it on the window, that is the main window. And when I do the pack, what it will do is simply organize it below the last control. So last control was the text, so below that. Okay, so if I just run it now, uh, okay, sorry, here I have to mention as button 1. So if I run it now, I don't know why it's coming. So this exit button has now come. But remember, I have not done anything, so it is not going to do any kind of action. It's not going to take any kind of action. So for that, I have to execute the fourth step. I have to link it with some kind of an action, right? How can I do that? Simply, there is a parameter of button called command. So I use that command parameter. Command is equal to, and here I can give a command. Say I give a command window dot exit, or rather destroy. Okay, window dot destroy. This is the function I give. So what it will do, when I click on this exit button, it will simply close my window, main window. So let me try this out. Here is the button, I press on it. See, the dialog or the window gets closed. So this is how, so again, step by step, just try to get this perspective. First, I have to import this tkinter library. Okay, and I import it and alias it as tk. Then I have to create the main window, which is basically my container. How can I do that? I can create using the tk function, and just to sustain it, I have to give this main loop. So within these two blocks or these two lines of code, whatever I give is basically going to be my displayed. I mean, it's going to be displayed in my container, right? Now, say for example, I want to put in the widgets. So I give the different widgets. I have put in two widgets at the moment. I have given the text box, okay, and I have given a button, okay. So when I use the pack function to organize the widget, what it will do is it's simply going to put one after another. Or if I mention the index in this way, it is going to position it in terms of the particular window which has been created. Okay, and last, the fourth step, if I want to associate a trigger or rather a method which is going to be triggered as an action. Okay, say for example, when the button is being clicked, you want to trigger an action. Then you can also do that using the command parameter of the button, right? So this way, pretty much for all the different widgets that you have seen here, the long list of widgets, this method is pretty much the same. Everyone, you have to use the tk.sum method. So generally the name is very self-explanatory. Whenever it is a button, capital B and then button. Okay, whenever you want to create a list box, it will be a capital L and the list box. Okay, so same way for all of them. It's pretty much trivial and intuitive. And the first parameter in most cases is going to be the window on which this widget is going to be contained on. So the container window, right? So that when we are first doing the we are creating the main window, so this handle or this object we have to pass it on for as a first parameter, right? And then we can use the other parameters. You can watch it out, find out what are the different parameters. Typical parameters are the height, the width, the background color, the foreground color, the text which has been which can be put on it. So all those things can be used, right? So I'm going to quickly run through the other different controls, and then we are going to run a piece of code which kind of puts all the things in perspective. So button we have already seen. Entry box. Entry box is nothing but an edit box where we can type in text, right? So if you want to put in an entry box, it's just a entry method of tk. Then for label, it is the label method of the tk or the tkinter module, right? So here like this tk.label, and you put the label name as the text, and here you have the greet function is being used. You can also use the pack function, or you can also use the greet function if you want to organize it in a more tabular way, like in specific places you want to put it, right? And like this you have the entry boxes, the grid function, we mentioned the row and the column. We'll see that, we'll have a running code and see that, right? So like this your window is being created with the label and the what, and the edit boxes or the entry boxes, right? Like this you can position the radio buttons. Like this you'll get the different radio buttons, and whatever is being the selection you can take it as a variable, right? So the variable will be so the var one basically picks the value of the variable. Okay, so if there are 3 radio buttons and you are selecting one of them, this value is going to be set as var, right? Now check button also you can go for the same thing, and the code is also very trivial. For a message box, if you want to give a pop-up message box, then you can use the message method, right? Again, window is the first parameter, and there are different other options which you can use. You can look at a standard reference, and you can see what all different options are there. Say for example here, text is one option. So if you want to pop up with a particular text, you can do that. We are going to look at that kind of an example, right? So this being done, let's look at a more complicated example where we have a lot more controls than what we have seen here, and look at how the dialog looks like using the pack function first. We'll see the pack function first, and then we are going to also look at the grid function. So here you have such a code, right? So here you have just, I mean, as we have seen that we have the window created first and the dimensions being set, and then we have a text box, and then we have a button, and then we have placed a couple of labels, couple of entry boxes or the edit boxes, then we have more label, radio buttons, and then check buttons, and all those stuff, right? And all of them, just note, we have used the pack function, right? Now, if I run it, what you will see is basically all the widgets or all the controls are being uh, placed one after another. And this is not a very good way to structure the things, right? We don't want to do this kind of a UI design. So how do I want to do a UI design? I want to position all of them in a specific sequence and in a specific order. So let's look at that, and for that we have to use the grid function. So here we see the more structured code and using the grid function. How do I structure it? So say I have designed a very simple form or application form, right? So I have done it here, and then I have given a title also. I have not set the geometry to set the dimensions, so we can do that also. So let me just put in that. So window dot geometry, I just put in the dimensions. So say I put it as same 500 cross 300. Okay, and then I have given a few labels, right? The label names are name, age, phone number, and email. The thing to be noted here is, see, row numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3. So basically in the subsequent rows, right? And then we have given the entry boxes, and the entry boxes, see, again the rows are corresponding to that name, and the corresponding entry box is row 0, and then the age corresponding entry box is row 1. So the row numbers are matching. So, and the columns, the first one, the set of labels, we didn't mention any column. So by default, it will be the first column or the column 0. and the second set of the entry boxes we have given column 1, so which will take the second column, right? The first column the labels are going to come, second columns the entry boxes are going to come, and they are going to be corresponding, say for each of the labels there will be a corresponding entry box, right? And then I have placed two buttons in the same row. So the row number is after given, I mean, so the row number is 3, and here the row number is given as 9. So a little down, a little below. Let's not make it as 9. Let's make it as say 5. Okay, and the column numbers are also given as 2 and 3. So a little to the right of the edit boxes. We can also position just below them. No problem. So let's run this code and see what's the outcome. See here the word outcome which is coming is like this. Okay. Now just understand one thing. If we want to better utilize the space in the window, what we can do is we can position them in a little better way. Like we can shift the column a little to the right. And also between the two sets of labels and entry boxes, we can leave one row in the middle. That way it will be looking aesthetically better. So let's try it out. Okay, so we give this one as say row 1, this one as row 3, this one as row 5, and this one as row 7, right? Same here, we give 1, and then we give 3, we give 5, and we give 7, right? And the buttons we give as 10. Okay, fine. So this way you are leaving some space within, I mean, so horizontally you are leaving some space. If you just run them, you can see already, I don't know why it's not happening. It should have been showing up, but somehow it's not happening. But anyways, this is how you can arrange them, right? Same way you can also arrange in terms of columns, and you also have this pad X and pad Y to leave some buffer in between, right? Now let me do something. Let me try to give a certain function, so a certain what should I say, triggered function. Okay, so we have already seen that we can call the window.destroy. We have seen that in the last screen that we developed, that exit button had a window.destroy to close the window. So here we have two more custom functions. We have say show message to show something, show some message, and there is one more print message. Okay, we have a function to print some message. Okay, now what we can do is we can create our own method or our own function which can be triggered once we click this button. So how we can do that? For that, again, just the same thing, command parameter we are going to use, but instead of using some Python defined or like system function, we are going to define our own function. So for show message, we are going to define a function, say show message. Okay, show message. And for print message, we are going to define a function, say print message, print underscore msg. Okay, and now we will have to define these functions. So we define these functions. So for we define the print message. What do? We simply take the data from the E1 or the entry 1. There is a function called get, which will fetch me the text which has been typed in the entry box 1. And I'm going to print that. And when I write this print strtext1, it's going to be printing in the console. Here we can see it. And the second show message, what it will do is it will take the content from E2 or the entry box 2, and it's going to pop up a message box with that particular message. Okay, so let's see whether that is actually happening or not. Right, here we have it. So here we now write the name. My name is Amit and my age is whatever, say 40. Okay, then phone number 9884 and 78. Okay, and then email amit@yahoo.com. We're not going to need all of them, we just need these two. Okay, so when we do a print message, you will see something printed in the console, right? So here Amit is coming, and when we click on show message, see this 40, whatever I have typed in the entry box 2, that is coming here, that is popping up as a message box, right? So this is how you can kind of tag along a particular function, a custom defined function, and you can actually build your own triggers. Okay, how it is useful. So like the thing, we got the print message, we got the message printed here, we may need in certain circumstances to kind of build a string, say for example a SQL, the SQL string, right? A structured query language string, and we may need to save these details into the database. So you build your insert query or the insert SQL query from the data you get from the users, and then you put it into the database by the insert query, right? So for that, this can come very handy, right? So this is how we can build very simple user interfaces using the Python tkinter library. Hope you have enjoyed the video and hope it will help you build your own application going in future. Okay, so thank you very much uh, for being patient. uh, Bye.